There's a phrase that holds a deep, hidden power. I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. But what if I told you this ancient truth is the secret foundation behind all the prosperity teachings of Napoleon Hill? This connection between a timeless spiritual promise and the mindset of success might just change how you see the path to victory and abundance forever. In this video, you will discover a revelation that transforms the way we understand mental strength, winning, thinking, and inevitable success. It's a truth wrapped in mystery, one that calls you to reflect deeply and unlock a power that has moved the greatest minds and hearts throughout history. Prepare yourself. The most shocking part of this journey is just ahead. There is a phrase that echoes through the centuries and awakens something deep inside us. I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. Many repeat it, but few truly understand its weight. And what most people never imagined is that this profound truth is behind the greatest teachings of one of the most powerful names in personal development, Napoleon Hill. What connects a biblical passage to one of the best-selling books about wealth? A spiritual mystery few know, but one that can redefine your financial and emotional destiny. Behind this simple declaration lies an invisible principle that moves all successful people Hill studied. It's not just faith in the divine. It's about strengthening yourself from within so deeply that no external circumstance can stop you. The secret isn't in the beautiful words, but in what happens inside you when you believe, without hesitation, that something greater supports and pushes you forward even when everything seems against you. You will realize throughout this video that true power doesn't come from outside. It is activated from within. And this activation begins with a kind of faith that moves mountains and bank accounts. Faith that organizes, attracts, builds. But the most shocking part is yet to come. How Napoleon Hill reached this truth without quoting scriptures, yet touching on the same spirit that moved apostles and great leaders in history. If this first revelation touched something inside you, like this video, share it with someone who needs it. And comment below. I decide to live with strengthened faith. This journey is just beginning. Napoleon Hill was not just a writer. He was an investigator of the human soul. For over 20 years, he interviewed the richest and most influential men of his time. But what few know is that beneath every conversation, there was a silent, constant faith. Not just religious faith, but that burning conviction that does not waver in the face of storms. He realized that success left clues, and all led to the invisible. What impressed Hill was how such different people, entrepreneurs, inventors, politicians, shared something that guided them even when no one else believed. He called this applied faith. It wasn't about waiting for miracles, but about having such deep certainty in the outcome that the universe itself seemed to bow before this energy. And it all began with a mission Andrew Carnegie gave him. Discover the formula for success and reveal it to the world. This journey led him to something beyond formulas and strategies. It led to the discovery of an inner power that ignites when faith becomes action. And that's where everything connects with that verse from Philippians. But before we get there, we need to understand how Hill translates faith into a force as practical as a tool in a builder's hand. For Napoleon Hill, faith was not a vague idea. It was a precise tool, almost like an invisible engine that drives thoughts toward reality. He saw faith as a mental state, cultivated by repeating positive thoughts and powerful affirmations. It's not about waiting for things to work out, but about believing so firmly that your subconscious has no choice but to obey. It's like planting a seed with absolute certainty it will grow, even if the soil still seems dry. This faith is built. It doesn't appear overnight. Hill explained that by repeating daily what you want to achieve, the brain starts accepting it as truth. Then, the invisible begins to move. Faith for him was a combined mental, emotional, and spiritual process. An alignment of what you feel, think, and say until the world around you starts changing to match your inner belief. Imagine someone wanting financial freedom. If they keep saying, "This isn't for me," or "I'll never get out of debt," the subconscious records these phrases as commands. But when they start consistently affirming, "God strengthens me, and I prosper with wisdom," something changes. Not by magic, but because the mind begins working for you instead of against you. This is Hill's faith, practical, constant, transformative, and deeply spiritual. The verse, "I can do all things through him who strengthens me," carries a power beyond spiritual comfort. It is essentially a manifesto of spiritualized self-confidence. When Paul wrote these words, he wasn't in a palace, but imprisoned, physically limited, yet fully free inside. And that inner freedom is what Napoleon Hill sought to activate in his readers, a force not dependent on circumstances, but on a faith that shouts, "I can." Even without quoting this verse, he spoke from the same spiritual root. The connection is clear. For Paul, strength came from Christ. For Hill, it was activated by the mind's power aligned with a higher purpose. But in the end, both were saying the same thing in different languages. There is something inside you greater than any external obstacle. The faith that strengthens is the same that accomplishes. The trust Paul places in God is the same that Hill encourages in every focused thought. It is as if they were describing the same source of power, but in different contexts. And here's the detail few notice. Both speak of the authority born from faith. A faith that does not deny reality, but transcends it. A faith that does not wait passively, but rises courageously to transform. When Hill said faith is the starting point of all riches, he was not excluding the spiritual, he was translating for the 20th century mind what was revealed thousands of years ago. And this leads us to an even deeper truth. Napoleon Hill discovered that among all elements that compose success, planning, discipline, strategy, one repeated in every story of overcoming faith. But not faith as religiosity, rather as an inner fuel that transforms desire into achievement. He said everything starts in the mind. But what gives life to thought is faith. Without it, ideas die before birth. With it, even the impossible finds a way. That's why so many fail, even with talent. They lack faith in their own worth. They lack constancy in their actions, because success isn't just about goals. It's about believing, day after day, that you will get there. Faith is what makes someone get up at 5 a.m. to build a business, even without seeing results. It's what sustains those who decide to change their lives, even when everyone doubts. And that's when faith ceases to be only spiritual and becomes practical, financial, transformative. Hill stated clearly, no one gets rich by chance. There is an invisible pattern linking thought to reality, and faith is the key that opens that door. When you believe with all your strength that prosperity is possible, not out of arrogance, but alignment with something greater, you start to see opportunities where there were only limitations before. And this internal movement is what starts the true revolution. While faith builds, limiting beliefs sabotage. They are those phrases people repeat unconsciously. This isn't for me. Money is dirty. Those born poor die poor. They settle as silent truths and, worst of all, they act in the subconscious as commands. Napoleon Hill warned that the biggest obstacle to success isn't external, but the internal convictions that imprison the mind before it even tries. These beliefs are born from repetition, often inherited from parents, culture, or past experiences. They form an invisible filter through which life is interpreted. Hill said that if the mind is full of fear, doubt, or scarcity, no plan, however good, will prosper. Because negative thinking feeds an inverted faith, a faith in failure, lack, impossibility. And unfortunately, that also comes true. But here's the most revealing point. Just as a limiting belief was programmed, it can be unprogrammed. The mind is malleable, and when you consciously choose to feed thoughts of strength, abundance, and possibility, true faith begins to arise. A faith that clears the internal ground and opens space for a new identity. Someone who believes in their own worth because they know who strengthens them. Studying over 500 success stories, Napoleon Hill found an invisible pattern. All of them, at some point, believed in the impossible. There were no guarantees, no safety nets. But there was a deep conviction they would be sustained by something greater than themselves. Thomas Edison, for example, failed more than 1,000 times before inventing the electric light bulb. But he never said he failed. He said he found 1,000 ways not to do it. That is faith in action. Another example is Henry Ford. Called crazy, mocked by engineers, he insisted his 8-cylinder engine was possible. For months, his employees said it was unfeasible, but he repeated, "Keep trying." The engine was created. The industry changed. The world changed. What drove this man? An unwavering certainty that his vision was more real than the voices of doubt. That is faith that moves with courage and sacred stubbornness. And even today, in simpler and unknown stories, this pattern repeats. People who rose from scarcity, pain, abandonment, because one day they chose to believe differently. They chose to plant faith in soil where everyone said nothing would grow. And there, in that soul secret, they prospered. And you might be closer to this than you imagine. Napoleon Hill believed the human mind was like a projector of realities. For this projector to work, 3 gears must be perfectly aligned: visualization, faith, and action. Visualizing is giving form to the invisible. It's seeing with the eyes of the soul what doesn't yet exist physically. Hill encouraged his readers to imagine every day, in detail, the life they wanted to live. Because, according to him, the mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is intensely visualized. But just visualizing isn't enough. You must believe. Faith is the cement of vision. It makes the dream so vivid that it becomes inevitable. Without faith, the image fades. With faith, it gains color, depth, texture, and finally comes the action. No idea is realized without movement. Hill was clear. Faith without action is just desire, but faith with action is creation. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things, driven by something the world doesn't yet understand but will soon see. Many wait for the perfect moment to act. Hill taught the opposite. Acting is what makes the moment perfect. You act even when afraid. You move forward even without guarantees, because the vision you carry is stronger than the noise around. And when these 3 forces unite, visualize, believe, act, reality begins to yield. Because you are already living inside what will soon manifest outside. Many think faith is sitting around waiting for a miracle to fall from the sky. But Napoleon Hill dismantles this idea. True faith requires movement, courage, and persistence. It's the opposite of passivity. Faith is a force that pushes you to act, even when everything around suggests giving up. It's the flame that keeps the fire burning, even against the wind. Hill taught that faith that truly transforms is the one that lifts you after every fall. It's not believing things will happen without effort, but believing so much that you're willing to do whatever it takes to make them happen, he stated. Success only begins when a person refuses to accept failure as an answer. It's the combination of faith with continuous action, with constancy, that builds the bridge between dream and reality. So, if you're waiting for a sign to act, know that the act of acting is the sign. Faith is not static, passive, or disguised. Doubt, faith is moving toward your dream, even when the road seems uncertain. This living faith is what Napoleon Hill calls the driving force of prosperity. Doubt is an inevitable shadow on the journey of faith and success. Even the most confident people feel its weight, and Napoleon Hill knew it could be the biggest saboteur of dreams. But the secret lies in how to handle it. Hill taught that doubt only gains strength when you allow it, when you surrender to it, and let it speak louder than your faith. The solution is simple, but requires discipline. Replace doubtful thoughts with firm and repeated affirmations. When doubt knocks, it's time to remember what you've already achieved, even if it seems little. Reinforcing small steps and victories is powerful fuel for faith. Hill pointed out that the human mind is programmable. You can train your thoughts to resist fear, anxiety, and pessimism. This is what makes the difference between those who give up and those who persist. Because doubt only wins when you let it in without resistance. And here's the crucial point few talk about. Doubt is not the enemy. It's a message. A message for you to strengthen your faith with even more purpose. Answering doubt with concrete action, silent prayer, a step forward is what transforms fear into an invisible ally. The journey is never linear, but those who persevere discover the power beyond fear. Napoleon Hill taught that the subconscious is like a fertile garden where the seeds of our thoughts are planted. But those seeds only sprout if watered frequently. That's why repetition is the key to reprogramming the mind. Positive thoughts repeated daily create a mental environment where faith can grow strong. While doubts and fears left unchecked create weeds that choke growth. This constant programming is what makes the difference between a person driven by faith and another paralyzed by fear. Hill recommended using clear and specific affirmations that align desire with belief. For example, repeating, "I am strengthened by God and prosper in all I do," is not just a nice phrase, but a mental command preparing the ground for effective action and opportunity attraction. Moreover, by combining these affirmations with the spiritual power of prayer or meditation, the subconscious becomes an unbeatable ally. This process creates a connection between the conscious mind, emotions, and spirit, generating an internal state that transforms external challenges into steps to success. It is at this point that faith ceases to be just a feeling and becomes a real, visible force in your life. Napoleon Hill showed that true faith is not just an internal impulse. It radiates energy that attracts what you need to grow. People with strong faith create a natural magnetic field that draws allies, mentors, and unexpected opportunities. It's as if the universe conspires in favor of those carrying this silent, unshakable confidence, an invisible invitation few know how to recognize, but that is always present. This confident faith generates an aura of security that inspires trust in others. Those around you feel this strength and want to be part of it. That's why relationships, businesses, and partnerships begin to flourish almost organically. It's not luck, but an aligned frequency, where faith acts as a magnet connecting you to the right doors at the right time. And here's the most precious lesson. To attract, you must first be in harmony with yourself. Faith nourishes self-esteem, and that self-esteem makes you recognize and seize opportunities when they appear. When you understand this, you realize faith is more than belief. It's the force that creates a virtuous circle of prosperity, success, and true connection. Napoleon Hill knew that gratitude isn't just a nice feeling, but a powerful force that activates and multiplies faith within us. When someone cultivates the habit of thanking for small achievements and daily blessings, this attitude shifts the mind's focus from scarcity to abundance. It's like opening an inner door that allows positive energy to flow freely, strengthening the belief that greater things are still to come. Constant practice of gratitude creates a virtuous cycle. The more you thank, the more reasons you find to thank. And this expansion of vision strengthens faith because it changes how you perceive the world and yourself. Hill taught that a mind programmed to recognize and value what it already has never feels defeated, but is always ready to reach the next level with confidence and joy. Moreover, gratitude is a kind of spiritual connection that harmonizes body, mind, and soul. It attaches you to a greater force, the one Paul calls him, who strengthens me. And it is in this place of recognition that faith ceases to be a struggle and becomes a natural state, an energy that propels you forward, even in adversity. Uniting biblical teachings with self-development lessons is not only possible, it is a path of power. Napoleon Hill, even without using religious language, revealed principles that deeply echo in the Bible, especially in how faith operates in the mind and heart. This union creates fertile ground for those seeking not just material success, but integral transformation, financial, emotional, and spiritual. The ancient wisdom of the Bible speaks of eternal principles such as faith, gratitude, perseverance, and love, which are the foundation for any true change. When we align this with self-development, which provides practical tools to apply these concepts daily, the result is an unbeatable force. It's as if the science of the mind meets its soul, creating a balance that sustains genuine and lasting growth. And this little explored connection makes all the difference for those wanting to live a full life. It avoids the extremes of fanaticism or materialism and points to a path where the spiritual and the practical complement each other. It is in this meeting that true prosperity is born, one that enriches the pocket, but also the heart and mind. Everything begins inside you with a firm decision to believe it is possible, because there is a strength that empowers you to achieve all you desire. This faith is not a luxury. It is a necessity for those who want to turn dreams into reality. Napoleon Hill taught us that success is an internal journey where mind and spirit walk together. And this truth is reflected in that powerful phrase, "I can do all things through Him who strengthens me." You have the capacity to shape your destiny, to overcome doubts and fears that try to paralyze you. Everything depends on the commitment you make to yourself. To nourish this faith with daily actions and the certainty that the invisible is working in your favor. The path is not easy, but it is possible, and you are not alone on this journey. The strength that supports you is greater than any obstacle. So now it's your turn. Allow yourself to live this truth. Align your thoughts, your heart, and your actions so that prosperity flows naturally. If this video spoke to you, like, share, and subscribe. The world needs awakened people, and maybe you are one of them. True transformation begins when you decide to live and deeply feel what you believe. It's not just about words, but a real change that happens inside your heart and mind, reflecting in every choice, in every action. Faith, when nourished with purpose and consistency, becomes a powerful force that changes your financial, emotional, and spiritual reality. If this video touched something inside you, leave your like, share with those who need to hear this message, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next content that will strengthen your journey. I want to know, what is the greatest dream your faith has already helped you achieve? Write it in the comments, because your story can inspire many others never to give up. Remember always, you carry within you a strength that can move mountains. Believe in this, nurture this faith every day, and transform the world around you. The future belongs to those who decide not just to dream, but to act. And you? Are you ready to take the next step?